Thank you guys so much for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I am so excited about my next guest because we have a lot in common. We love to live by the mindset of smiling. So you'll hear about that a little later in the show. But before we get started, I'm going to let Rikaya tell us a little bit about herself before we get into the interview.
Thank you for having me on board. I am super excited. And a little bit about myself. I come from the world of words. I've written poetry as a little person, lost and lonely, and that kind of evolved into being a journalist, into being a life coach, coming into the personal development space, and a motivational speaker, and the smile strategist that I am.
I love that. And so, my premise for using the smile strategy is out of my story of depression. I think it's a way to be proactive when it comes to your mindset and mental wellness. So, talk to us about what smile means to you and how you came up with it.
Okay. The smile was created for my TEDx talk. I did it in 2016. And I'm the kind of person who doesn't wait to be ready. So if there's something I want to do, I jump straight into it and then I learn along the way. I think a lot like how you would do things too. So,
Mhm.
and probably that's why we get along so well. Um, so when I did the TEDx talk, the concept was very simple. I wanted people to stop complaining about the rest of the world and take accountability for their lives. And I said, you move from feeling stuck to unstuck using gratitude and acceptance. Acceptance comes when you smile. S stands for silence the mind. M is manage your attention. I is identify the intention. L stands for let things go. And E is energize the possibilities. So it's a simple 5-step formula, but it works very beautifully to help you get from victim mode to ownership.
Oh, I love that because, that really is a good thing to talk about today because so many people have felt, victimized with this global pandemic for whatever reason. And it was something that they didn't actually have a choice in a lot of cases with their jobs changing or, losing family members. So, talk to us a little bit more about, that transition from victim to being victorious.
Okay. So most of us decide to move from being the victim to being victorious when it begins to hurt too much, when it begins to feel like, okay, this is it, I can't do anything, it's do or die. And but it doesn't have to always be that way. You can be just mindful of the fact that yes, I'm going down a spiral. I am beginning to see myself getting in that complaint zone more often than I should be. Just being mindful of that is often the easiest, not really the easiest thing. It takes practice to do that, and that's pretty much how you work your way through it. Um,
I love
yes.
that because, that was really my hang up. So my story was depression for 13 years and I carried victimhood like a badge of honor. Woe is me. This is happening to me and everything. So, it was quite a life altering experience to take that ownership. And to me, it felt like it was more empowering,
Hmm.
because as a victim, it's like you're being tossed to and fro by all these outside things that you can't control. But when you take ownership, you become empowered to actually choose how to do things differently. So, what helped you get to that concept of owning something? What experience did you have that kind of helped you with that transition?
So what helped me? I found myself in a stuck space when my father passed on, and that was around the same time when my children left the nest for university, and it just felt very empty at home, very empty within my heart as well, and I struggled on most days to get myself even out of bed. And it took one very solid question from my son to push me from being in that space of I can do nothing about this to okay, what can I do about this, you know. He asked me, he said, what have you been up to? And I said, I'm your mom, you're not supposed to speak to me like that. And he said, all that is fine, but what about accountability? Ah. And when children ask you questions, you really can't find a way out. They know when to ask and what to get done. So, to cut a long story short, that's where was that tipping point where I began to see, okay, why should I change? Why must I create a shift for myself so that I can support others along the way as well? So that was for me that turning point, and I began moving forward therefrom.
I love that. And kids, they ask you the craziest things sometimes, but they have a way of penetrating. So
Hmm.
for me being in that cycle for 13 years, you're I was kind of like robotic. Everything was just on autopilot with the things that I was doing and that unfulfillment. So it's funny how sometimes the smallest questions that seem so insignificant can really be life changing, So that is really phenomenal how that happens. So, what do you do now? You have this smile mindset and way that you tackle things that come to you. But what do you do regularly in your routine that helps you kind of stay on top and not fall back into that victim mindset on different things in your life?
Okay. So I'll take you back to the same story where, that question was asked and I began to ask myself, what can I do? I made a list. I actually sat down, used my own tools and techniques, and I said, okay, I always tell people they need to know about their intention. So I sat down with myself and I made a list of close to 183 reasons why I should change, because I just kept writing down and writing down. And I didn't stop when I felt like stopping. Every time I felt like stopping, I wrote some more, because it's always your conscious answers that come to you right at the beginning. And it's only when you start looking deeper and deeper and deeper do those unconscious, intentions show up. And I began to pen them all down. And I came back to UAE and I started a daily series of live videos that I do, Facebook live videos. And coincidentally, today I am 10 days short of 1,000 days.
Wow. This is
Yes.
so awesome. Yeah. Now that's some perseverance. Now, so were you always into video? That was just your thing. So walk us through that journey and now almost at 1,000.
Almost at 1,000. No, that was not my thing. In fact, on my Facebook page, nobody had ever seen me, met me, or even seen a picture of me, because I was all about my words. It was called, my page itself is called, on Facebook is called RK Writes, because I used to write down my thoughts. It was never about me or conversations or videos, nothing. But when I found myself not even wanting to get out of bed at 5 p.m., I said, what could I do that would literally make me face the world? And the answer I received was to do videos. And I said, okay, let's try this. It's not going to kill me. I'm just going to sit. I'm going to start doing a video. And so that's how it all began. And yes, there have been difficult days. There have been days when I didn't feel like speaking. There have been days when, a particular quote of mine brought up some emotions and I even broke down on the lives. There have been times I've been traveling and I have had to adjust the time difference. So many factors pulled in. But what helped me was the comments, the conversations, the gratitude that began to come from people I don't even know. And they write in and tell me, this is how you helped me today. This is the message I needed today. So I was like, okay, I'm doing something good. I'm on the right track, kind of. So that's kind of the purpose of my day.
I love that. So, and that's a big feat, to kind of go to not wanting to get out of bed to being on video, So the walk us through the mindset. Was it that you were doing this to get yourself going, or did you always have the mindset that somebody needs to hear from me today? What was
No.
it that kind of like, because you know how you're on the fence and it's like you're in this inner turmoil between should I do it, should I not? So, what was it that tipped you over to actually doing the video?
Okay. I ran a poll on the page asking my people, because even before the videos I had people on the page who used to visit often for the quotes, and I used to post them regularly. So I ran a poll on the page and I said, guys, would you be interested if I did videos? And almost 96% said yes. And I'm somebody who respects an answer. If I ask a question, I receive an answer. It's right on my path to part to respect that answer. So that's how it started. And I thought video because I thought, okay, if I was in bed all day, and if I were to do a video, at least I'd have to wash my face.
Right, right. I
Yeah,
love that. Yeah.
I mean, it's just the simplest thing. People might think, oh, just to wash your face, she went on video. That's what you might think. But in that state of mind where I didn't even want to get out of bed, here I am getting out of bed and doing a live video where I don't know who would watch me from which part of the world. And I'm speaking my mind. I'm sharing what I'm thinking. I'm sharing what I'm feeling. I'm being vulnerable. I'm okay to receive any kind of feedback. So that was a massive step for me. It was difficult, it was daunting, but I went through it. And as I said, there have been difficult days, but I think those difficult days have given me even the more, have given me more strength, because people who've joined in and said, "We hear you, we understand." Because as a coach, you're supposed to have all your stuff together. You're supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to know what you're doing. But yes, even as a coach, before all of that, you're human and you
Mhm.
go through things. People need to understand that too.
I love that. And, I love the whole thing about the vulnerability because, that is a big step to, hear that feedback or, to even know what to share, So for somebody who is thinking, well, just like you said, I'm a coach. How can I get on here and be vulnerable and talk about the things I'm having problem with if I'm supposed to have it together? So for somebody who's watching and they're on that path of, I don't know if I should get on video, how much should I say? What would be your answer to them?
What I tell them is take the first step.
Mhm.
So no matter how out of balance it feels, just take that first. Because when you take that first step, the second step will follow. You'll put your foot forward, the other foot forward, to support yourself in that first step. So take that first step and see what it feels like. It'll take some time for you to kind of find your balance, find your beat and your ground, even for that matter. But you eventually will. If it's the intention is good, if the intention is pure and you're very clear on your intention, you will keep going.
Great point. Because, that is so true. You already had somewhat of a community and you were just, going deeper in that community. So, uh, talk to somebody about knowing what their message is, because you're so clear about, your message, your values, and these things that you are being vulnerable about on your videos. How were you able to go through that point of knowing what it was that your message was to share?
To be honest, when I started out, I didn't know. I really didn't know. The video started just from a place of helping myself. It came purely from that space of helping myself. But as I went deeper into the journey, I realized what was in it and how I could contribute and support others. I had to first find my own strength, which is why I say take that first step. And it might feel a little out of balance. It might feel like it's shaky. You might not see the ground under your feet. It might feel a little daunting, but that's okay. That's how change comes, right? It disrupts us, and then it puts everything back in place.
I
So
love Yeah. And it is I think it's the element of, feeling like everybody's watching you.
yes,
And at the same time nobody's paying attention. because it's so funny. You're on video and it's like, oh, people are watching, but if they don't know who you are, you're not getting very many views, so it's one of those things that's just kind of like a, double-edged sword when it comes to that type of thing. So it's really kind of funny. So, what was it that you told yourself to kind of get out of your own way, so to speak? Because, the minute before you push record, there's so many things that, let's do this tomorrow, or do you have to start today? Or, can you do it with somebody else and not just do it by yourself? So what was it that really just had you say, this is it?
Okay. I know exactly the day when this happened to me. It was on day 68, where my daughter had flown back to Australia after a visit home. And once again, I was alone at home after a very long time. So I slept through most of the morning. And when it was time for my daily life, I had the option of ignoring the alarm, the reminder, and just turning back and going to sleep. Or I had to show up and I had to stand for all the things that I've been speaking of in the past so many days. So I said, okay, I'll show up. I showed up not just for myself, but also for the fact that I knew when Ida, my daughter, would reach wherever she was traveling to Perth at the time, whenever she'd reach there, she'd want to check up and find out how mom's doing. So sometimes you gather courage not just for yourself, but for the people that you care for.
So true. Now,
And
so you said you had an alarm and a reminder, and I want to highlight that because so many people think, oh, she's on these videos and she does this every day. And, she is just the spokesperson for smiling and having it all together. So, talk to us about having an alarm and a reminder, you know.
yes, I do have an alarm and a reminder. Coincidentally, it just went off while we were speaking. So that's what the little sound that you heard some time back was about. And yes, some days the alarm goes off and I don't feel like it. Because those either they've been difficult days or I've been going through something or I'm at an event and I just have to, take some time off and do it at a later time. But it's just about understanding that this is my commitment to me before anybody else. And it might sound a little selfish, oh, it's all about her. Yeah, it is all about me. It's my life at the end of the day. And I think the day we realize that this is our life for us to do the best we can with it is the day our life changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean to come from a place of high horse or anything. I mean that serve yourself before you can serve another. Um, yes, there are days when I'm doing the live video and there is nobody watching.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens, nobody's watching, because how many times are you going to keep tuning in and listening in? And there people are busy some days. But I still speak with the same excitement, because what I realize is if someone comes back on replay and receives that message, I don't want them to receive a half-baked, half-hearted message, because that message was for them to receive on whenever they receive it. So being as honest as I can with my message, with the conversations, and coincidentally, I call it connecting the thoughts. So it's like a
I
ripple
love,
effect of thoughts. Thank you.
yeah. And, so, I love what you said about not delivering a half baked message because, you know, when you show up, you have a mindset to show up in a certain way, to be that version of yourself. So, what are some things that you have to do that helps you show up? And I understand that myself. It's like, my kids might be screaming, they're in an argument, I have an interview scheduled. So, it's like you have to kind of cut off that part for a minute and show up at this intention for this specific time in order to deliver what people expect of you or what you expect to give others, how you want to serve them. So, what are some of the things that you have to do to make sure that you're able to show up Does that question make sense?
Oh, it definitely makes.
Mm,
I think the first and foremost thing I need to do is to silence my mind. And no, I'm not selling the smile strategy, but
mhm.
the first and most important thing I really have to do is to kind of bring myself, center myself, bring myself to the task at hand. It's kind of like doing anything else for that matter. If you're making breakfast for the family, you're getting ready for work. That's what you're doing, right? If that's how you can commit or stay focused to doing what you're doing for those things, then if this is a task that you've taken up and are committed to, then you go by it and you do that.
I love that. Because this is the thing that kind of throws a lot of people off. We want to have a YouTube channel, but then when it's time to show up, we are, doing it halfway, not really being all in. And I love the fact that you mentioned that because, for other people that are on the outside looking in, there are things that, you have to get right with yourself before you get on camera, in order to have that consistency, because if you're not doing it 100%, the product is not going to come across that way. So, I mean, it's so commendable that you are almost at 1,000 days showing up every day. I mean, that just is phenomenal. And for people to watch that journey. So, what is it that you aspire to do for 2021, and even just during a global pandemic, and to be able to have some things to say, during such a difficult time, not just for yourself but other people that may be close to you. So what is your goal for 2021?
My goal for 2021 is to come out with my book.
Mm,
Quarter 2 is when I'm aiming to have that book in my hand. So it's not that the draft is ready or it's going for editing, but hopefully by mid of the year I should have the book in my hand. Is the aim. What else would I like to do? Something that I'm coming up with very soon is a mastermind program, which is a 3-month mastermind program. I thought, how can I celebrate 1,000 days of commitment? So on day 1,001, I'm starting my mastermind program, which is a 3-month program where people can enroll and be part of the conversations together. We you know what a mastermind group is, right? So we get together, we learn from each other. There are certain topics that I take up in conversation. There'll be hands-on exercises, learning, and assignments, even for that matter, accountability partners in the group, and move forward together for 3 months. So this is something that I'm kind of getting together as we speak.
that is awesome. Now, so are these going to be on air with you, or you're still doing your individual videos?
I am doing my individual videos, but the masterminds will be done in a closer community. So it is more of, I will onboard people, and if you'd like, we can share the registration form, and people can
Absolutely.
come on board. Yeah, I'd like
Yeah.
that. And Lachelle, it's as you say, getting your stuff together and everything, but life happens, and maybe you've got everything planned out and everything, and the interview's going on, and somebody could walk into the room, or your phone could ring, or there could be somebody at the door, and and people will understand because they're also living in the same space where life happens. So a lot of times people hold back from starting to do something because they're looking for perfection.
Yeah.
Perfection's overrated.
Mhm.
So yes, take that step.
Absolutely. And it's definitely an illusion. It's like, we get into this fantasy thinking. As a kid, we can think, you know, and create and imagine. And not to say those things aren't possible. I look at Steve Jobs, and, here I am with an iPhone that, he mastermind, is the term I would say for something that we couldn't even begin to understand that it could do the things that he envisioned it doing. So there is that element of, having that creative mindset. However, there's also the balance of being grounded. you can't be all in fantasy land because, you're in your own land and nobody else is with you. So one of
True.
the things about Steve Jobs is he was able to bring that idea into reality. And that's kind of what we have to do, and knowing that there are limits for that. Like you said, we're only human. So sometimes we just kind of think, oh, this idea is out of this world, so I'm out of this world. That just isn't true.
So reality check.
Yes.
Yes.
So
It's
true.
nice. It's nice to surround yourself with people who care for you, who encourage you, and who are always there as your cheerleaders. But it's also important to have people who can be your reality check, as in not pull you down, but at
Right.
least tell you an apple for an apple, an orange for an orange.
Mhm. Now, so what for somebody who's dealing with adversity right now, they are trying to reinvent themselves, and they've lost so many things and people during this time. What advice would you give them about, approaching the new year, and what kind of outlook you would advise them to have?
I think what I've largely been speaking of lately is about being kind to yourself, being kind to yourself, and being respectful that everything takes time. Yes, if you've been through a loss, if you've had a setback, give yourself some time to get your head around it, first of all. Come to that place of acceptance and understanding that, yes, this has happened to me. I need some time to myself, if at all, yes, because sometimes we're so much in a rush to recover or, to be back to normal that we don't heal enough before we've started. It's kind of like when you fractured a bone and you don't wait for it to kind of heal fully, and then you start playing again or you start running again. And then what happens is the bone does heal, but it doesn't heal properly. And then you tend to have that little limp, or you can't use your arm with a lot of weights, then you kind of weaken the arm. So just sometimes giving yourself some time and being kind to yourself, I think, is the trick in the situation right now.
I love that. That's good. And, because we can be very impatient a lot of times when it comes to that. And I guess the last question I would ask is, you started out with your writing before you transitioned to video. So when you were writing, how did you create that community, with that Facebook group before it transitioned? So, because this was during that time of you not feeling your best, or was this before that happened that you
The
created the community?
The Facebook page was created 3 years prior to the videos itself. And it was created only because, in ancient times, you were able to write your Facebook status. You could write a one line, something, just a one line or something like that. I used to do that. And I used to put in interesting thoughts. And a lot of my friends would say, this is good stuff. You need to put your name against it, just one liners. So Facebook memories sends me reminders, my quote from maybe 10 years ago or 9 years ago. And I love seeing those because they just remind me that my thought process has been consistent through and through. And I haven't wavered from being that positive person that I am. So I used to, when I was advised this by my friends, I began to put them up on image quote and post them on my page.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how that became the reservoir of all the quotes that I had of my own. And I referred to that when I began to consider what can I do, what could I do. When I was making that list of why must I change, I looked at what all resources I had, and this became the most easiest and obvious place to go to in terms of what I had already created for myself unknowingly.
Now, so is this what your book is going to be? Your book of quotes?
That could be the shortcut, but I am actually writing on Smile to Move Forward, wherein I'm taking the 5 steps. I'm bringing in stories, conversations from my life. I've very often spoken about the 5 elements on my talks. So I'm going to bring all of that, and then that's how it's going to be. And one of the chapters is called Beyond Diapers and Dishes.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, sounds like music to my ears, okay? I'm at that stage, you know? I'm like, I don't know about the empty nest. I have a 6-year-old, so I don't know
True.
when that's gonna happen, and I'm 50, so, hey, by the time she leaves, I'm gonna have grandkids and everything, which I already have some, but still, it's like a revolving door. I wouldn't see us totally being alone, when she leaves, so, and then
Yes,
sometimes your kids come back, you know what I mean?
yes. So for some of us, life doesn't come a full circle. It just goes in a spiral.
Exactly, exactly. So true. So that is just amazing. Yeah. So I have really enjoyed this time and really enjoyed your ability to share and be transparent because so many people out there watching need this at a time like this. And, it really resonates for me for part of my journey, how I struggle with depression and it's so encouraging for people to see that they're not alone because, we kind of get in our own head and we think, woe is me, nobody else understands. But, there are many of us out here that struggle with that same thing. So, what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you, to follow you with your mastermind, the name of your Facebook group, and things of that nature?
Okay, so my YouTube channel is the best place to go and subscribe because the daily videos are being posted there. So it is my name, Rukaya Khan. That's how you spell it, as you can see down there. YouTube, Rukaya Khan. That's the name of my channel, and my Facebook page is RK Writes. So it's RK space RITES. I'm a bit of a rebel. I thought, well, we don't pronounce the W. Why should I even write it? So I said, okay, right.
Wow. Okay. Love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and how long are these videos gonna go on?
I thought I would stop at 1,000. I really did. Every time I think I'm going to stop. But a few days back, I was in conversation with my husband and I was telling him, I'm going to stop at 1,000. And he said, why would you do that? I said, because it's 1,000 days. He said, so what? I said, I'm running out of quotes, my own, because I don't pick up quotes from elsewhere. Anything that I might have had, something that jumps at me while I'm talking to someone, having an engaging conversation, and I've said something, I write it down and I speak on that. Says, I'm running out of stuff. He looks at me and he says, you're running out of stuff. Well, so yes, it's happy to know. It's good to know that he trusts me and he knows how talkative I am.
That's good. That's good. So, I love the whole concept. I met Swampna Abraham. I think I introduced you guys with her
Yes,
journey
yes.
with music. She wrote live songs for 1,000 days. And so I'm wondering if you might be eligible for a world record yourself with the things that you're doing, because she got 4 world records for her creation of music live on Facebook daily. So that's something you might want to look into.
I have set the ball rolling. So wish me luck. Let's see.
Awesome.
I have
Awesome.
taken inspiration from her and I have set the ball rolling and let's see. Fingers
Awesome.
crossed.
Look, I feel good to be in the company of world class people. Okay. So this really warms my heart to be just in your tribe. So
I
thanks
love
again
it.
so
Thank
much
you.
for all that you're doing. And what final words would you want to leave us with today?
What final words? I think it's important to smile. And I'm not plugging it in for the purpose of my message, but for the purpose of our message.
Mhm.
But honestly, even on those difficult days, if you smile, your mind begins to look for the reason why you're smiling. It's kind of like short circuiting your mind and fooling it into saying, okay, I'm smiling. So what is that you've missed out? Your subconscious, you're leading your subconscious to look for a reason to smile. And isn't that reason enough to smile?
I love that. That's very good. Yep, definitely. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. And for those
Thank
of you that
you.
are watching, I encourage you to reach out to Rakaya and, watch her videos, listen to her message. It's all about finding ways that you can be an even better version of yourself. It's a journey, it's a marathon and not a sprint. And if something she said resonates with you, reach out to her. It's about creating a community of people that are like minded and that, inspire us to keep moving forward, regardless of what it is that we are experiencing. So, from one mother to another, we understand that life happens. It's never going to be perfect, but you still have an impact that you can share your message in the lives of so many and make a difference in this world. So,
Absolutely.
thank you all for watching. And again, reach out to Rakaya on and join her YouTube channel. Give her the support she needs because 1,000 videos, I mean, it's commendable. Think about what are some things that you're doing consistently for that period of time and giving back to other people. That's something that we need to support and rally behind. So, subscribe to that YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and we look forward to seeing you the next time. Have a great day. Bye for now.
Bye bye. Thank you, everyone.